Welcome to the RJI Futures Lab, where we help you make your organization more innovative. I'm Ruben Stern. This week, turning single stories into mobile apps and using virtual reality to drop the viewer into the news. First comes the love, and then comes the mobile app. At least that's what happened recently at the New York Times, where a single story from the Modern Love column quickly morphed into a unique mobile experience. We tracked down the developer who built it to find out how the Times is able to quickly produce this kind of specialized app.
Leading up to Valentine's Day, the New York Times wrote an article about a study showing that a particular set of questions of increasing intimacy made people more likely to fall in love. They built a 36 questions app to help people answer those questions.
The article had been such a huge hit, and it felt like the format of it really just lent itself to being turned into an app so much that we really just had to do it.
But when the basis of the article is a list of questions, why does someone need an app?
So really one of the advantages of sort of wrapping this up in this sort of app-like behavior is that we can manage that time stuff for people. So as you swipe through the questions, it would keep track of how long you were spending, and then it would alert you when it was time to move on to the next set. And particularly at the end, it actually has this portion where the two of you look into each other's eyes for 4 minutes. And so being able to really just sort of free people from having to set a countdown on their phone or something like that, it just sort of being able to wrap it up into a whole package that they sort of don't have to really go out of their way to use was sort of a big motivator behind making it.
The fact that it's a web-based app and not a native app speeds up the creation process. The development team was able to build it in just 2 weeks because they had a template from making a 7-minute workout app last year.
It was quite beneficial because we could borrow a lot of that and repurpose it and turn it around quite quickly. It's something that we try to do a lot because if we have to start from scratch for every single interactive we do, that sort of ends up not being a very sustainable approach. So as much as we can, we sort of try to create sort of reusable templates and things like that.
The app benefits both the user and the New York Times. Creating an app allows their content to have a longer lasting appeal than just an article.
It's not as sort of time specific as a traditional article would be, in the sense that this is going to be around for a long time. The real success for us is going to be people continuing to use it without it being something that we're actively promoting. It was a huge success. One of the advantages of it being a web app over a native one is that when it comes to things like Facebook, it's just right. As soon as someone posts it, it's sort of got a load right there within the Facebook app. And we saw a huge amount of social traffic. We saw some really high engagement as well. It wasn't just people arriving then immediately leaving. There were a lot of people, coming and going through all the questions and really sort of, really getting to the end of it.
For the Futures Lab, this is Tim Leibel.
Times developers are looking to standardize some of the underlying code to more quickly build other apps in the future, and they'd like to build more native apps too. Project Syria offers a good demonstration of what's possible when virtual reality technologies are combined with journalism. Producer Nani de la Pina says this kind of storytelling can fundamentally change the way people think about news.
When you first put on the goggles, you find that you're on a street in Aleppo, and it seems like a normal day. People are just going about their business and chatting, and there's traffic and stuff going on. And then all of a sudden a mortar shell hits and chaos erupts. And you find yourself in the middle of the street in the dust cloud of the smoke and the debris and people yelling. And then we dissolve out and we put you into a food area. There's some distribution of food going on and into the larger camp of a refugee camp.
Of course, you'd have a different experience with a virtual reality headset on. The project is a walking simulation where users have to wear virtual reality goggles and walk around a room to get the full immersive experience.
Currently, right now, we only have an installation version. You have to come and walk fully around.
But everything that you see in Project Syria is real. Using video and game development techniques, the project allows viewers to experience the real events.
So the first path was sourced from an original video where a girl is singing and a little girl singing and a bomb goes off. I had to source videos all the way around it because once the bomb hits, that video goes off and we had to find the aftermath. For the second half of the piece, I sent a team to the border of Syria and Iraq to record in camps, etc. We were very careful to recreate one-to-one the events that occurred, except for the fact that I have to say I held back a little bit on the blood and the gore because it seemed just inappropriate. But otherwise, the buildings, the textures, the environments, all that is carefully reconstructed from the real scenes and the real events.
But no other medium can capture what it feels like to be there, says De La Peña.
I think one of my favorite moments recently was when one of the security guards, it was a quiet time, and he said, "Why don't you try it?" And he did, and he came out of it, and he was crying. And he said, my son went to Iraq. He's been in scenes like this. I really didn't know what he'd been going through until this. This feels so real. This feels so real. I now understand my son so much better. Now, that was not a reaction that I expected, but it blew my mind at how deeply moving and effective this piece can be for all kinds of reasons.
De La Peña says she believes virtual reality is a tool with great potential.
It is a very, very powerful embodied medium in which you feel like your body is present on scene. And I think that affords the ability to give people a visceral and deeper understanding of what's transpiring, unlike any other medium to date. I do think we're going to find that many organizations are adopting virtual reality journalism. It's just a matter of helping them engage with the platform and get a deeper understanding of how quickly stories can be turned around and how much more viscerally important stories can be told. And to be honest, I think it's also a way that news organizations can monetize content because they are experiences and people will pay for experiences still, and they're not that easy to duplicate. So I think that it also offers a way for news organizations to support their efforts in telling important stories.
Project Syria was developed in 6 weeks with a fund from the World Economic Forum. For the Futures Lab, this is Tatiana Daria.
Project Syria was built as an installation, but the team is working on a mobile version to be released later this year. They also plan to show a new project about the Trayvon Martin case at this year's South by Southwest conference in Austin, Texas. And that's it for this report from the RJI Futures Lab. I'm Ruben Stern. We'll see you in the future.